Good afternoon, students.
Good
We'll
afternoon.
wait. Akash, are you already here?
No, sir.
Okay, okay. Manaswini and Devanshi, can you make sure that the other students join us?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I hope you are enjoying this course. This course, unlike other courses, has been designed in such a way that it is it's like free thinking, right? There is no as I said, as I keep telling, there's no right or wrong. It is entirely personal. Okay, but all said and done, we are trying to become professionals, right? We are being trained professionally to become like scientists, or in some way, a lot of things are being taught to you so that wherever you want to pursue your passion, you are going to find some place, some opportunity where you're going to pursue your passion, and you are going to be part of the team. Okay, you are not going to be an island. You probably could not be doing all these things alone. Either you will be leading a team or you will be part of a team, right? And whenever we go into a, workplace, right? It could be an organization, it could be any other profession, right? Which you would be choosing depending on your passion, right? It will have its own ethical practices, right? So you have ethical practices for scientists, you have ethical practices for lawyers, you have ethical practices for media outlets, you have legalistic ethics, ethics for lawyers. So it turns out that ethics has a very, very broad application. Uh, Probably there is no profession which cannot have a concept or a sliver of ethics, right? Even among the so-called people who are unethical, even they have boundaries that I will do this, not beyond this. Or even when people have, for example, all of us know that each area has people who demarcate, right? This is my area, this is my area, this is your area, and all those kind of stuff. So there is some kind of an underlying ethics, that we should not cross the boundaries, right? So we will look at short this thing on. So when I talked about ethics, doctors have an ethics, lawyers have ethics, every profession has ethics, right? And what I thought, I'll give a very brief overview of certain these things. Okay, ethics. Okay, so what is a code of ethics? So scientists have a code of ethics to follow. Okay, what would come to your mind when I say that this could be something that is really core of should be the core of a scientist? Any volunteers? Suppose I say this is one property that I'm looking for in a scientist, that he or she should not violate that code. What would come to your mind?
Sir,
Yes,
bioethics,
Akash. Huh.
bioethics,
Bioethics.
like,
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? What do you expect from a scientist? that you think that scientists should not do this, you know. See, unlike doctors, unlike lawyers, unlike engineers, you know, scientists don't have a professional body, you know. So the expectations are, you know, kind of hazy, but you know, all of us think that a scientist is not expected to do this in his core domain, in his or her core domain. What would that be? Any volunteers?
Sir, can we relate it to the plagiarism as well? Like,
Mm-hmm. Very good. You are almost getting to the point. You are very close to that point, but little bit far off. Okay, Diksha, you are right. Plagiarism is one part. Okay, what else? What else you will never expect a scientist to do? Okay, so I'll just give a clue. As I said, science and research as an enterprise relies on public money, right? Tax money, and every project that gets funded is actually literally taxpayers' money, and there is a lot of justification that goes on when a project is funded. Okay, that these are the societal benefit, this would happen, that would happen, and all that. Okay, a typical this thing that is not expected of a scientist is misconduct. Okay, we will deal with this scientific misconduct in a separate topic. Okay, because till the 50s or 60s or maybe till 70s, the scientific misconduct was kind of, you know, negligible. Okay, people probably did, and they were, it didn't probably have a serious consequence. But as pressure mounted, you know, people started falsifying results. And I will show you a beautiful case of David Baltimore. Okay, we will discuss this at the appropriate time. David Baltimore is the Nobel laureate. Okay, one scientist joined his team, and she kind of, you know, the legal languages are tough to understand, right? But at that point in time, the scientist was accused of misrepresenting, not even misconduct. It was called as misrepresenting facts, and that resulted in, you know, all kinds of this thing. David Baltimore literally he kind of became desperate. It took 11 years before the U.S. Congress decided to hear them out, and so it is such a painful process, right? And then eventually not only the US Congress, but now they have what is called as Office of Research Integrity, ORI. Okay, and now any scientific misconduct, it's people know that can have a very severe consequence. Okay, so it does look like, unless there is a form of either a punishment or a legal action, your ethics can probably waver. Actually, I was listening to a very, very interesting lecture from Harvard, University, where people were. It's a big hall, so many students are there, and they are discussing about the same trolley problem that we discussed in the beginning. Five versus one, and they also discuss the case of you being the medical doctor, and somebody comes to your table who can, who needs, there are like five people waiting who need liver, lungs, and all that. So I have not fully gone through that. Maybe I'll share that link. You should probably go through that. That is a series of lecture. Okay, I know that you people are hard pressed on so many other things, so I'm not going to force you to do that. But I think it turned out to be a very, very interesting lecture. I only heard about 15, 20 minutes, or maybe less than that. But the kind of options and the kind of responses that students are giving, it was like amazing. I mean, you people did wonderful job of responding to those questions, and I see a similar response from those guys also. Okay, so beautiful. So anyway, what I wanted to impress upon you guys is that there is, you have a code of ethics. So scientific misconduct is something That is not expected of scientists. Okay, but unfortunately, there is so much of competition, crazy competition in terms of publications and all that. It now becomes everybody wants to take an advantage of that. Okay, it does look like at some point, okay, we will worry about the consequence later, बाद में देखा जाएगा, that kind of an attitude. But I think people are also realizing that it's a painful process. Many times when we do a mistake, then we realized, okay, it was not worth it, right? So it does look like that. Okay. So when it comes to conduct, ethics for scientists, one thing is scientific misconduct. Similarly, every workplace has its own ethics and has its own, along with ethics, obviously, you have roles and responsibilities, right? When you are hired, say, after you graduate out of MIT, when you're hired into, any position anywhere, they will give you a role, they will give you responsibilities, but they also owe a responsibility. So it's a two-way relationship between an employer and an employee, right? So as an employer, the employer has roles and responsibilities towards the employees. Similarly, as employees, you have roles and responsibilities towards your employer. Okay. So quickly, in a short video, in 15 minutes or so, we will, look at one of the this thing on the workplace ethics. Okay, and I have another one on the code of ethics for science, but it's a fairly long lecture, so I think I'll share the link, but go through that. But it's a very interesting link. Okay. I will also share this one from the Harvard one, which says justice, what is the right thing to do? It has several episodes, okay? And episode one is the moral side of murder, okay? So the topic looked little unusual. So I just went in and saw, then I realized it is something that we had already discussed in the previous one, okay? So let me share this on my screen. So I'm kind of surprised that when it came to science, nobody wanted to say anything. Thank you, Diksha, for that response. Okay, let's hear this. Okay, I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Going to be on workplace ethics and code of conduct. Well, friends, if you're working as an employee in any organization, be it small, medium, or big enterprise, there are certain code of conduct and certain professional behaviors that an employer expects out of their employees. And today in this module, we will discover what those ethics and code of conduct are. Well, let's get started. Agenda today, we will talk about certain things which is related with defining workplace ethics, importance of having ethics at workplace. So why exactly do we need to have ethics and the importance of that at workplace? Obeying the laws, the rules and regulations. Every organization has certain laws, rules and regulations which they expect you to follow. Best workstation, bay and cubicle practices that every employee needs to have. Legal, moral and professional ethics, and some of the best organizations in the world today which have been ranked in terms of workplace ethics and culture. Well, that is all in our module today, and let's see what else we can learn in this. So if I have to give you a definition, what exactly do we mean by workplace ethics? The dictionary definition of workplace ethics is, it is a group of moral principles, certain standards of behavior or set of values regarding proper conduct in the workplace. Well, ethics is something which either you have or you don't have. There is no gray or black, or there is nothing in between on that. You either have it or you don't. Ethics, my dear friends, is not something that can be taught but it's something that you feel and something that is your moral and principles. Certain questions that we need to keep in mind when we are faced with this particular, having any doubt in our mind in terms of having, do these things or do this behavior is ethical or not ethical. Certain questions we need to keep in mind are, is that particular thing legal and fair? If you're stuck somewhere, any kind of behavior, ask yourself or introspect on this question, is it legal and fair? Will it hurt anyone if I do this particular behavior? Is anybody going to be hurt by this action or behavior of mine? Next thing which you need to ask is, will it make anyone uncomfortable? If I do certain thing, anybody getting uncomfortable with it? Does it convey respect for others? Any questions on that you may ask? Have I involved others by asking their viewpoint? Have I collaborated or have I asked everybody for their opinion before going ahead with this behavior? Well, friends, these are certain questions you need to introspect on when you are stuck in a situation with regards to whether your behavior or action is ethical or not. Well, friends, let's understand what are certain reasons why employees are fired from their workplace. All of us need to pay a lot of attention on this particular segment because nobody likes getting fired at workplace. So certain reasons are, certain employees are fired because they are troublemakers. They get into a lot of different kind of troubles at workplace, be it with employees or bosses, anything with regards to creating trouble with the processes, the SOPs, etc. They also use offensive language at workplace. You should not use any kind of abusive language. You should not put people down with the way you use your language. You should also not follow, or rather you should not do anything with regards to following the law and order, should not go against the law and order at the workplace. Never ever harass others with regards to getting your work done, using your ego, your power, your status at workplace. So don't harass anybody. Doing or any kind of involvement in theft, so stealing something at workplace, can be a reason why you might get fired. And last but not the least, incompetence. As an employee, you are expected to be competent at your work, so you should not do anything which will show you as an incompetent employee at workplace. Well, we will now discuss certain common work ethics which every organization around the world today uses. So if you're working for any kind of company, any organization, these are certain common ethics which everyone wants you to follow. Let's understand what these ethics are. Well, the first ethic which people really want you to follow, or employees, rather employers would want you to follow, are punctuality. You need to be punctual at workplace. Why punctuality? What I mean to say is, if you have a reporting time at 10 a.m. in the morning, try to be there at work 15 minutes earlier. This shows punctuality. Also punctuality with regards to if you have told your boss or manager that you will submit a particular report or assignment, anything at all, make sure that you get back to them within that time frame. That's punctuality, and it's highly honored at workplace. The second thing is responsibility. Now, employers really expect employees to take responsibility for their actions, responsibility for the work that they're doing. So never ever try to brush your hands off from the responsibility given to you, and try to do as much as possible to be proactive, try and take as much responsibility and initiative and be a leader with regards to that.
Welcome to my gully. You must be wondering, is it a gully boy scene or not? No, this is my birthplace. This is where I was born, and I grew up from here.
The second thing, or rather the third thing with regards to workplace ethics, is having a lot of integrity and loyalty. People who have integrity, now we have another module with regards to integrity, but just to explain you in a little detail right now, integrity is something which is very personal to people. So people should show, or rather their actions and behavior should show people that they are integrity, and they also have a lot of loyalty. Never ever share confidential data of the company or organization with outsiders. That's a complete no-no. So make sure that you show with your actions and behavior that you are somebody who has a lot of integrity and somebody who has a lot of loyalty. People should be able to trust you with their words and actions. The next thing, and the most important part of workplace ethics is being a good team member. You as an organization or you as an employee will have a lot of team members reporting into you, or you will be working in a lot of teams. Everybody in a team has a different mindset. So be a good team player. Never try to put any team member down with your words and actions, and also try to help your team members as much as you can. If you are going to help them, next time around when you need help, they will also come back to you. So be a good team worker, be a good team player, because that's really honored and valued at workplace. Professionalism, well, I can't really explain this in a lot of detail, but professionalism today is the most sought out kind of a behavior by every employer in the world today. People expect you to be professional. Now, professional with regards to your grooming, your attire at workplace is important, and also professional with regards to your behavior. You need to come across as not somebody who's unprofessional, immature, etc. So be very professional with regards to your etiquette, be very professional with regards to your basic grooming and attire. The next thing is having a positive attitude. Well, friends, it's very essential that when you're working in an organization, employers expect you to have a good attitude at work. Well, you might be having a lot of problems at work, you might not get along with another team member, etc. But important thing to understand is have a positive attitude, and you will see success coming your way soon. Well, friends, the next thing we will discuss with regards to workplace ethics is having commitment to excellence. Well, employers today don't need good employees, they need great and excellent employees. So if you have been assigned a particular task or given a particular project to handle, try and put your heart and soul into it, try and achieve excellence instead of just doing it for the heck of doing your job. Try to excel at your job, because that is something that will get you into the limelight, and people really appreciate hard work as well as smart work. The next thing is with regards to reliability. Well, you need to be shown as somebody who's reliable. Employers, or rather your bosses and managers, should be able to rely on you and give you a task with assurance that you will complete the task in time. So you need to show reliability with regards to your actions, your behavior, your body language. Everything should show that you are confident and reliable as a person or as an employee. Next thing is with regards to being productive. Well, friends, everybody gets 24 hours in a day. Nobody gets more or nobody gets less. But yet, some people are able to finish all their tasks within that particular stipulated time. With regards to being productive, it's really essential to understand that don't waste your time at work. Don't loiter around, start gossiping with other people, go to the coffee machine, and while you're sipping your coffee, you're wasting half an hour, 45 minutes just talking to people randomly. It's important to understand that you need to show yourself as a productive employee, and that is something that will give you essential or really good brownie points. So show yourself as somebody who's productive at work. Try and understand that people really give weightage to those people who are productive at work. Respect is something which is very, very essential at workplace. You need to give respect to get respect, and that's something which is very essential. Try and respect everyone at workplace, be it a peon or an office boy to the CEO or a MD of the company. Your employees, or rather your team members, also need to be treated with a lot of respect. If you don't give respect to people, you will never get it back. And respect is something that everyone aspires for. So start respecting your people. Friends, we will now get into a very important segment, which is having certain cubicle and workplace ethics and etiquette. When you are working at a particular workstation or cubicle, there are certain do's and don'ts and certain things you need to keep in mind. Let's see what they are. You need to make sure that your workstation is clean and organized, and I don't need to tell you this why it's important. You show yourself as a professional if your workstation is neat, organized well, there are no files or papers flying in and out. Use a dustbin and not litter here and there. Well, it's important. If you don't need a piece of paper, just don't throw it here and there. Use the dustbin. No eating at workstation. It's very distracting. If you're eating something, the smell of your food might travel to other workstations also. So always use the cafeteria or the particular designed place or designated place with regards to having your food. Turn off the printer, light, air conditioner, computer when you are leaving for the day. If you are the last employee to leave for the day, it's something which is very basic and etiquette that you need to switch off everything before you leave. You need to treat your workplace like your home. You wouldn't leave air conditioners and lights, AC, etc. on when you're leaving from home, would you? So in the same way, workstation needs to be respected. Keep your phone calls short and definitely no loud ringtones on your phone. It's very distracting if your neighbor or somebody who's sitting next to you is working very hard and suddenly your phone rings like anything and there's a loud ringtone or you're having long conversations on phone. Never ever use the office landline for your own personal calls, and that's something which is again a matter of etiquette and manners. Handle office stationery properly. Do not overuse the office stationery just because it is provided free of cost to you. Don't overuse it or take some of this office stationery back home for personal use. That's again a complete no-no. Well, understanding code of ethics is very important. So workplace ethics serve as a guiding principles that effective leaders use to set the professional tone and behavior. Leaders today all over the world have set certain code of conduct, certain code of law, which they feel need to be really used by the employees today. And let's understand what these morals, principles, and guidelines are. Well, with regards to code of ethics, there are three things which we need to understand: legal, moral, and professional. With regards to legal code of ethics, every employer today has certain legal issues or law and order which they want the employees to follow, and it's very important to understand if you are going against the processes of the company, if you are going against the set law and order of the company, you can be put behind the bars. So never ever mess around or play around with the law and order of the company. The second thing with regards to code of ethics is moral ethics. Well, moral or morality is something that either you have or you don't have, and it's important to understand moral ethics is something that an employer really looks for in an employee. So don't have any kind of behavior which will show you as an immoral person or having any kind of stealing behavior, being morally rude to people, again a complete no-no. And also with regards to professional ethics, employers today are really looking for their employees to be professional. So anything with regards to having good behavior, professional behavior, something that an employer looks for and something that their brand image is also at stake if you are following any kind of unprofessional behavior. So friends, we need to understand that legal, moral, and professional ethics is something which is the need of the hour, and we need to understand our company, wherever we are working, what is their legal, what is their professional, and what is their moral ethics that they expect out of an employee. Well, just to throw some light on certain organizations which have been voted in terms of best organization for corporate culture, Facebook, Google, these are certain organizations which I'm sure all of us know have been voted as place where people love to work because of the kind of culture that they have. Certain other organizations are Warby Parker, Southwest, again a kind of an airline, and Adobe and Zappos.com. These are certain organizations which have been voted as best organizations to work in because of the kind of culture they provide to the people, and people love working in such kind of a culture. To conclude our topic on workplace ethics and code of conduct, well friends, I hope you have enjoyed listening to this particular module, because as an employee, it's very important to have certain ethics and code of conduct, because otherwise your impression in an organization can really go down, and trust me, people can fire you left, right, and center if you do not have certain ethics and code of conduct. So thank you for watching us and have a great day.
All right. Well, so I hope people got to know that why there is a need to have a code of conduct for every thing. I mean, not only have a code of conduct, but I think need to have a professional ethics for science and scientists. Right? So, any questions? Right. Just give me a minute. Okay, so every profession, as I said, has a code of ethics. The legal profession, as you can imagine, there are professions where, you may go in as a client, right? So they need to maintain the confidentiality, right? What you tell a doctor, he's not supposed to tell to anyone else, right? Whatever you are telling confidentially, either to a doctor or to a lawyer, it is supposed to be kept confidential, right? And one of the important thing about these things is, if you carefully listen to the previous YouTube video, they talk about competence, right? You are hired into a role based on your competence, and every organization strives its best to give additional trainings. Okay, see, every year there will be a review, and at the end of this review, they quickly do a SWOT analysis, what is called as strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis. Okay, and then they will try to fit in your strength into some place where others can gain, and your weaknesses, the every organization has invested in in an employee, right? Every organization has invested in an employee, and it doesn't make sense for them to fire an employee just like that. So they actually invest a lot of money and resources into training the employee. Okay. Now, in spite of that, many a times, employees don't value the association. Either they leave or, they are forced to leave. Okay. So every organization strives to train its employee. Okay. Especially in the pharma sector. I'm not aware of other sectors, so I'm not going to comment on other these things. But I would believe that it should be the same. Okay? Challenges are there, right? If you look at the pharma industry, you have a lot of challenges because whether you are making the pharma products for domestic consumption or for, if you are exporting, for example, to different geographical locations, then they have their own laws. So you need to keep, making sure that you are updated on their laws, their requirements, their processes. Okay. The when it comes to pharma, India turns out to be a big manufacturer for many different kinds of medicines, and these are exported to Europe. They are exported to US. They are exported to Japan. They're exported to many different parts of the world. Okay. Now, most pharma companies, for them, marketing in US, gives them a lot of respectability. The moment your products is launched in US, other markets also will take up your products with much less hesitation. Okay, although you may need to do certain, filings, different kind of filings, paperwork, but by and large, as long as you're able to market your pharma product in the US, which has the most demanding standards, okay, you are kind of on the way to marketing your products in other regulated countries like European Union or Japan. Okay, just as you have, these are called as highly regulated markets because they need up to certain specification, very high expectations, right? And so you would do that. Okay, you would do the company or the organization invests a lot in an employee to rise up to that standards. Okay, and then your expectation is after training, the expectation is that you would now be doing things according to what has been taught to you in the training. But if you were to not, if you don't care, you go into a training, you come back as the same old person, and you're not changing anything, you're not adding value to the organization, it's a tough call. It's a tough call, and the organization would part ways with you, or they will be forced to do that, right? These days, of course, things have become a lot more professional. So, every training session, earlier it used to be like you went into a training session and, the training session would come with an, certificate or something that you attended the training. Okay. Nowadays, they have a lot of these, simple, question answer kind of stuff, and you need to show that you have absorbed some part of the training. Okay. Typically the initially, the employees resented it. Okay, that we should not be tested, but then eventually they agreed to it. And initially the thing was like, okay, as long as you're scoring up to 50%, right, it was okay. But now the employers have realized that they need to set the benchmarks high. Okay, so the benchmarks are anywhere between 80 to 90%. That means you need to pay close attention when somebody is training you. You just can't, be there physically, but you can't be mentally absent. So, all these trainings are, in your own interest. The employer is taking interest in you and they're investing money and their time to make sure that you are, better than what you came into the organization. Okay. Many people take advantage of that, right? Many people do really a good job and they move on, right? There are people who may or may not do that. Okay. But there are a lot of other things, right? For example, she talked about, this presenter talked about loyalty, loyalty and trust. You need to make sure that in an organization you are not bad mouthing people, right? That goes a lot around in the in certain places, right? Especially I believe it is common among students, to, I won't say bad mouth, but at least there is a lot of comparison between this and that, between this person and that person, many different kinds of things. Obviously, when you go into a professional setting, when you go into a workplace, that is not expected of you. Even when somebody is bad mouthing other people, you are not expected to react or respond to it. Okay, as long as you don't react or respond to it, I think that again is very, very situation dependent. Somebody is bad mouthing others, that's a different story. But somebody is bad mouthing you in front of you, you need to take an appropriate action, and the appropriate action would be not slapping that person or abusing, counter abusing. Instead, reporting that to your superior. Okay, so these are some of the this things. So legal professionalism, legal profession, medical profession, right? All of them, make sure that there is an ethical code of conduct, right? Doctors, we all know, whether it is doctors or nurses, they all take that Hippocratic oath that they will not do harm to the patient, right? Under no circumstances they will, they will not harm the patient. And doctors and nurses are supposed to not to share the details of a patient's medical treatment. Okay, uh, with no one. Okay, what transpires between a patient and the doctor, what transpires between a patient and the nurse is supposed to be kept confidential. The doctors and nurses can confer among themselves only in the presence of the patient or with the patient's permission. Okay. So these are this thing. And trust. I think many of these things, whether you go to a doctor or whether you go to any other this thing, it is solely based on trust. Okay. And so trust should never be damaged, right? So doctors and nurses and patients must do everything on their part to make sure that the trust is gained. Okay. So There are many different code of conducts for this thing. I actually saw one video, but I'm not. It's not just opening. Let me see if I can get this. All right, let's see. All right. So this is for teachers, right? We will just see a short clip and then we will probably stop it. Okay. So as a professional teacher, I'm still learning a lot of stuff. Okay. One thing that you would expect out of a teacher is not to be what? What you would not expect a teacher to be.
Very responsible.
Huh?
So we'll not be expecting the teacher to be responsible.
Very good. Very good. So you don't want the teacher to be irresponsible. Anything else? Any other response?
Sir, to be biased.
Very good. Who was that? Ashita. Very good. Very good. To be
Yes,
biased.
sir.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? Manaswini.
So am I audible?
Yes.
Sorry, sir, I wasn't able to unmute. I've been having network issues all day.
Okay. Okay. That's okay. That's okay. But you're able to hear, no?
Yes, sir, I am. It broke a bit in between
Okay.
during that
Okay.
the video, but I got the gist of it.
Okay. Okay. So what you will not expect from a teacher? What is not expected from a teacher? Ashita said no bias. Sambit said they are all your seniors. They said Sambit said not to be irresponsible, right?
So for me, this can be a little strange, but I feel like if a teacher um, is not able to, inculcate interest in what they're teaching. So let's say the teacher itself is disinterested in what they are teaching, then it's very, very difficult for students to grasp it. So me personally, I'm quite a slow learner, and what really helps speed up the process is if I know for a fact that the person who is teaching me is as interested in it as I am. So that would be a big factor for me personally.
Very good, very good, very good. I think it takes a lot of courage to tell in front of everyone else that I am a slow learner. So I appreciate that, Manaswini. It's honesty is something that is really appreciated. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a challenge, right? That's a challenge for all the faculties and also for the students, right? Unfortunately, we are far from being in an ideal world, right? Suddenly, tomorrow am I in any way good in doing professional ethics? I don't know why, so this is the second year in running, and that course was assigned to me. So it took a lot of time for me to understand what should I be doing and all that. Okay. Similarly, even when we talk about subjects, it takes a good teacher is not born. Nobody is a born teacher. Many a times, people become better at it as time goes by, right? So sometimes I think initially they may not be so good in it, but they get better and better and better at it, right? So that's a challenge for both students and faculties, to, yes, Shakti wants to say something.
Yes, sir. Sir, I think a teacher should always believe students, because if the teacher will not believe, then uh, that will give a lack of confidence in them.
Very good, very good, very good. So Shakti's point is well taken. See, one good thing about all these things is we have one reason why, how you can build into the confidence. How you can gain the trust of teachers. To come to your point, Shakti, is that you need to gain the trust of the teachers, right? Many a times, we have seen from people, putting all kinds of lame excuses for not doing certain things what they were expected to do, and then later on we find out from other people the reason that was told to us was not right. It was just a lame excuse. I mean, people get to know it anyway. So gaining trust is very important. How do you gain trust? Sometimes some people trust you intrinsically and then they go on to build trust. Some people start with a deficit and they slowly start building the trust. So it is highly individualistic, right? But by and large, faculties would start with the basic belief in students, and then it builds. For example, if suppose a faculty is given in charge of the first year BSc students, for example. See, at least with all of you, I have been through with you for at least for 2-3 semesters. So I know to an extent, each of the student. But if it's a first semester student, first year student, it is going to take time, right? So it is going to take time to know who the person is, how much to trust that person, and all that, right? So it is a two-way. It's a two-way process, and I think we are doing a good job by doing this mentor-mentee meetings and other meetings. Although not doing it face to face and doing it online has its own limitation. Nevertheless, you still have a sounding board. You could still tell your mentors, that these are the difficulties. For example, in one of our mentor-mentee meetings, not now, but in the beginning, when we had just started this online meetings, everybody stressed on the importance of, how they're not able to, grasp the emotional aspect of the mentees. Like we discussed, when you have a face-to-face meeting, you will be able to know very clearly whether the mentee is comfortable or not, whether the mentee is having an off day or not. But when you do it online, they may be there, but they may not be there on the right emotional state. They are there because they are supposed to be there, right? So these kind of things are a challenge, but I think with hopefully with the campus getting reopened, and hopefully at some point in time when you people walk in, things might be a little different, right? Okay, so what do you think should be the code of conduct for students? We talked about teachers. Teachers are not expected to be biased. Excellent point. I really liked it. Teachers should be
So like there is
responsible.
one more also point.
Yeah, Sambit.
Like so like they should not have ego actually. Like in my whole student life, I have seen like mostly Indian teachers have
Mm,
an ego
mm,
like over
mm,
the knowledge. Like you cannot
mm,
challenge their knowledge actually.
mm,
Like if
mm,
you say something
mm.
which challenges their knowledge,
Yes,
so like
yes.
they become too
Agitated.
angry
They
or
become agitated, angry.
agitated.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Excellent point. Very good point. Okay. So this I feel this is my personal opinion. It is probably a cultural problem. I mean, like just try challenging your parents or grandparents on their old
Yes,
belief.
even parents or grandparents also they have the
Yes,
same ego bias
yes,
which
yes. No, that's what I'm saying. So this is probably an inbuilt cultural stuff. You go to an open society like US, where there is no bias. Either people think that you're crazy, or they will say, okay, go ahead and do it. So there are a lot of things like that. So to me personally, it feels like it is probably our cultural mindset, that we have set on this, and so nothing is going to change, but all said and done, there are still a lot of exceptions, a lot of grandparents and parents give a leeway to the children to do what they feel like, and as long as they are not they are doing well, they give them that continue to give them that patronage, right? So it is to an extent, it is a cultural mindset, but other people could weigh in. If anybody else has any other point, sure, we could have a discussion on that. Otherwise, what is expected of students? What should be the basic conduct for students? Anybody can any volunteers? Yes, Manaswini.
So I think that as a student, towards not just the teachers but fellow students as well, there has to be a basic amount of respect. Not because our typical, if they are older than you, you have to respect them, but because right now in this moment, your teacher probably knows more than you do. In this particular field, they have more experience about it. So don't immediately dismiss them, because there's a good chance that they do know what they're talking about. So I feel like solely from the viewpoint of knowledge, I feel like that kind of respect is important, because when you actually do appreciate them for what they do and how much they do, it's that respect comes easily, and it makes it easier to form a relationship with them, the student teacher relationship. It makes your working environment easier as well. So that is personally my opinion.
True. Very good, Manaswini. So, again, if you look at it, there is a lot of cultural thing to this. Okay. For example, if you go abroad, okay, if you go abroad, go to any of these other places, where people don't put persons above these things. For them, there is a lot of respect. Here, I think, as you rightly put, there is a lot of difference between a teacher and a student, but that actually melts away the moment you go into, little far off from India, when you go into Europe or US, that is gone, And of course, teachers there are teachers, but they also look at you not only as students and not only as individuals, but they also look at you as intellectuals. Okay, so even if you are doing something wrong, or if you're some way off, they might laugh at you. They may they will say, different people may take a different these things, but they may say things a little differently, but that's okay. That probably is something that we have to deal with it. Many of the Indian students who have gone to US have experienced this, have experienced it, because our mindset in India is very, very different, and when they go there, they find it kind of difficult to navigate in the beginning, but then at the end, typically I'm talking about graduate students, people who enroll themselves in MS or PhD programs. By the end of maybe 6 months or a year, depending on how fast you are, people end up realizing that things are different and it needs to be done differently there. Okay, people get adapted very quickly. The bottom line is people get adapted very quickly. Ashita, you were supposed to say something.
Sir, I was saying that a student should be diligent. He should be particular in a work and just not casual.
Okay, very good. Okay, so just to add to that point, I mean, like, see, the student phase is such an interesting phase. You are not going to get back to this phase maybe 10 years from now, right? This is one of those best phases where you are exposed to so many different things that can fuel your passions, right? And there is nothing wrong in following your passions, but at the same time, keep your moral compass always aligned with your values. Never allow other people or circumstances to change your moral compass, right? What is right should be right, to a large extent, right? Nothing changes, right? For example, typical examples are given. Remember one of the class, we said that when you're given a blank piece of paper and when you're asked a question, given a choice, will you cheat or not cheat? What will be the option? And I think, I don't know about this thing, but in the US, 65% of the people said they will cheat, right? So that's your moral compass. That given a choice, you are going to cheat. But intrinsic morality says no matter what, I'm not going to cheat. That's our own this thing. But as I said, sometimes people end up doing certain things a little differently under, certain exceptional circumstances. But what is expected of a student from a teacher's perspective is to be honest, is to have the ability to learn, right? And I think as Manaswini put and as you put it, the first thing is to have respect not only for the teachers but also for people around them, right? That is what is going to make them this thing. I'll just give you a quote from Professor Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the ex-president. When success was there, he was at the backstage. He gave the success to all his team members. But when there was a failure, he came to the front and he led them by example, taking the responsibility for all the failures on himself. So that is what gained the trust of his team members towards him. And then we all know how he moved the entire space program and the missile program. Today we have so many of these different missiles with all these capabilities solely because he gained the trust of the people who were working under him. So in the present this thing, I cannot think of anybody else other than Dr. Abdul Kalam. Okay, good. So I'm happy that a few more people opened up. So let's just keep these kind of lively discussions, and hope to see you in our next class. All right. Anybody else wants to say anything else? Okay. So if not, have a great and happy afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.